We are live. Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel, and this is Emily. And this is our second edition of Gen Z Dispatch, where we're going to be talking about AI. Emily, give us a quick introduction to yourself.
I'm Emily.
Yes, no, we're both writers. We both have Substack. Go check out Emily on her Substack, and then I'm over on Gen Z Translator. So I wanted to start with a quote from one of my favorite musicians, SZA, and her song Ghost in the Machine. Let's talk about AI. Robot got more heart than I. Robot got future, I don't. Period.
That's beautiful. Thank you. You did it like beat poetry too.
Yeah, I know. There's a rhythm there for sure. For sure. But yeah, the question we're asking today is it possible to live an AI-free life? Like, can we get away with maybe our everyday life and in the long term not being exposed to these tools? And I'm not gonna spoil the answer for you.
I might. I love talking about AI, but I also hate it. Like I feel very anytime someone brings up AI, I feel like I have a lot to say, but it's mostly bad. Yeah.
Well, and that was gonna be my main point, where it feels like people either stand on obviously there's a middle ground, but for the sake of the argument, there are two extremes, right? There are people who think you look at the words artificial intelligence and you think that's the cardinal sin. And then on the other hand, you have people who approach artificial intelligence with absolutely no critical thinking skills. They, let it take up their feed, they indulge in it, they don't question anything they're seeing that might be generative AI. And I think that's where the divide comes in, right? This is more of a moral issue now than it is a logistical issue because everyone can access AI at this point. I mean, maybe not everyone, but if you have access to the internet, you can access AI. And so what are you supposed to do with that? With great power comes great responsibility, and if everybody can access AI, what then?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because when I was a teacher in France, I AI was still becoming a thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever hearing about AI when I was in college. And I obviously there was no one using AI to write their essays in college. People were using Grammarly, which I like to think of as like somewhat of a precursor to AI assistance in terms of essays. But even French students were like, yeah, I'm using they called it like Chat GPT. I'm using Chat GPT to help with my homework, my English homework. And I was like, oh, that's why you're so bad at English. um, yeah, I mean, it really is just such a global phenomenon. Like, especially with young people too, which I say like we're not literally Gen Z, but I also
And that
think it's
fear is that it's causing this lack of critical thinking skills and brain rot.
yeah. And so this question, can you truly live an AI free life? My initial thought is just how do you put everything that how do you close Pandora's box
Yeah,
essentially? And I
yeah.
don't think that you can, but I'm also not completely on the train where I think AI is going to take over the world because just the profitability is not there yet.
Yeah. Well, and there are still things that are just dumb that ChatGPT does that you're like, a human is not gonna make a mistake like this. They're not gonna say an apple is a carrot or something like that in
Or just yeah.
ended.
Well, okay, but it's interesting because I had this thought the other day. Back I feel like we've almost gone back to pre-internet days because before the internet, if you didn't know the answer to a question, you either just didn't know it, like you continued to live your life not knowing the answer, or you just made something up. And I feel that ChatGPT has brought us right back to just making something up and just going with it. And I think it's funny too because, my people always tell me like, "Emily, I feel like you have so much knowledge about certain things." And it's really just that I'm pulling stuff straight out of my butt and I'm saying it with complete confidence. And that's essentially what ChatGPT is doing. And so you want to talk about ChatGPT putting people out of a job, it's putting me out of a job as a professional speculator.
Our lack of credibility used to just be due to ignorance, and now it's due to secondhand sourcing.
Like bad media literacy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is let's take a look at the pros and cons of ChatGPT really fast. Play devil's advocate. I know everybody loves that term nowadays, but I mean, let's genuinely look at it. So on the cons, we have water consumption. We have it's taking jobs. It's training and stealing from artists. It's causing laziness and brain rot. There's algorithmic bias baked into machine learning. There's lack of transparency and there's a lack of media literacy. In terms of pros, we have it increases efficiency and data analysis. AI is a buzzword for investors. And what else? That's all I could come up with. No.
I mean, well, okay. I think it's good for certain research tasks. Like for example, agentic AI is an interesting tool. I don't know if you've heard of this. This is essentially it takes generative AI a step further and it instead of you asking ChatGPT to give you answers, you're asking ChatGPT, for example, to buy you a plane ticket when the plane tickets drop to a certain price. And so
Mm,
you are giving it
finding
an order, yeah, you're an order to do in the future, and it is sort of taking initiative to do that thing on your behalf. And we're not quite there yet, but a lot of people see agentic AI as the future, especially the future of shopping, because, price fluctuations are such a big factor in whether or not you choose to buy something or availability of sizing. You could tell an agent, I want this in size 7 when size 7 comes back into stock.
mm. And that goes into efficiency and automation, and I think I was taught as artificial intelligence was coming up that it was meant to be used as an assistive tool instead of a replacement, like, meant to assist human behavior instead of replace humans, and I feel like that's not the common consensus, like, I haven't heard many other people talk about it from that perspective, but it comes down to AI is accessible, right? Like I was saying, most people can access it. ChatGPT is free, Gemini is free, Google AI overviews are freely offered. And so you have to be very purposeful if you want to not be involved in AI, if you want to opt out of AI. But
Yeah.
you can't fault them on gatekeeping it at this point.
I also want to talk about the fact that AI is seen generally as a cost saving measure in line with how automation in manufacturing has been viewed as a cost saving measure for large companies. And I think it's interesting from the perspective of manpower, thinking power, because a lot of entry level jobs, a lot of entry level jobs are kind of bullshit, like, they're kind of, like, just doing tasks, like coming up with lists, doing research, and that's, like, network,
Data
like
analysis,
yeah,
spreadsheets, compiling data in the
right,
hundreds.
and so if ChatGPT can do that, and it will do it for free, and you don't have to pay for its healthcare, companies see that as being very attractive, and I cover large companies in Atlanta, and I know from these companies' annual reports that they're just increasingly trying to move into incorporating AI into more of their business because they know that they could save money
Yeah,
by purchasing a ChatGPT access versus paying several hundred employees.
yeah. And we were asking this question of where is the money in AI? And long term. where's the money? And
Well,
I
yeah, a pie in the sky. If you think too hard about the economics of it, it kind of doesn't make sense because if there's not a lot of consumer spending right now is down for lower income groups, consumer spending is down. For higher income consumers, consumer spending is up. But if you look at like global consumer spending is also down. So if people are losing their jobs, people can't spend money on products. So there's really no reason for companies that make those products to be using ChatGPT to continue to lay off more people because you're going to reach a certain terminal point where you get no more effectiveness out of this tool and you end up end up making the economics of the situation so much worse.
well, and in this in a dystopia, right, everything ChatGPT recommends you is paid for somehow, like paid for recommendations or yeah, it
Sponsored answers. This is a real
sponsored
thing.
answers.
I think ChatGPT has said that they're not doing sponsored answers, but some other AI
Someone
chatbot,
has to end
some
up
people are starting to get into sponsored answers, or for example, sponsored content. For example, if you ask for a sweater, you're looking for a winter sweater, the chatbot might be have been paid to say, "Oh, you should buy it from Quince or you should buy it from Old Navy," versus, like giving you a legitimately crowdsourced answer, which is I think what people want from these companies. And I do think that if they start to incorporate more sponsored answers, they're going to very quickly find that nobody wants to use them anymore.
Yeah, no, and I think you had brought up some of the Pew Research Center data where people maybe aren't as on board with AI as we might think. Like, I mean, people are on board with it, but there is a healthy skepticism, I think, that exists.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it seems like it really depends, right? Like you and I, we are very aware of AI. Older people less aware of AI. Um, I feel that from the survey data, which is from September 2025, it shows that most people, like the vast majority, 73%, are okay with having AI help them a little bit in their life, but 27% are like, we don't think that AI should assist us in daily tasks at all, which is kind of a lot of people.
mhm.
And I think if you're anecdotally looking at the people in your life, like, yeah, there are a good number of AI haters among my friends, people that I know that would never use AI. And then, of course, I have my roommate who's redesigning her bathroom based on what ChatGPT tells her. ChatGPT, by the way, suggested taupe for her shower curtain. Do you know what color taupe is? Because I don't. I don't.
Tan? Is it a form of tan?
Like, I think it's a beige, actually.
Oh, I'm good at colors. Look,
Okay, but a beige shower curtain, like a pair of
that's
khaki
boring.
pants has never looked worse.
I mean, and that's where this all comes down to, right? Is how much is AI going to influence decisions we make daily? Google AI overviews is stealing search traffic. A lot of people don't even read
Yeah,
past this.
goodbye SEO. Like, what did we even do all that training for?
No. Yeah, people like you and I where we studied search engine optimization or in our jobs we were taught to utilize it. Now your traffic is being stolen and so that's not good for businesses, it's not good for journalism. Um and yeah.
It's also it's interesting because it seems like what people want AI to do is, the tedious task, the data analysis. But what AI companies want AI to do is the creative work, the
Yep.
work of making videos, the work of making art. And it's sort of being thrust upon us as if it's not one package deal. It's sort of like, a lot of companies are leasing AI capabilities. Like, I worked for a company that they paid for Google Gemini, and it's hard for me from an ethical standpoint to use Gemini knowing that what I am supporting is not only a ton of water consumption, but
Mhm.
also the theft of, you know, the information that was sought out by people, and also I'm essentially not recognizing the human work that has gone into the
Yeah.
product that I'm getting. And I think that is also going to make people reject AI maybe even more than they are right now.
On the other hand, I think there are some tasks that are not gonna make sense for humans to do anymore. Like data analysis, like I said. You used to have people manually combing through hundreds of rows of data, this kind of and now you have coders and people who are much more into the IT world than I am. But there are some tasks that at work where it's less effective to not use AI if, say, you were asked to. And it's becoming a detriment, I think, to some extent to not know how to use it. Like, there are a lot of things I do not know how to use ChatGPT for or whatever, and I'm finding it to be, uh, it's reflecting poorly on me when I get into job interviews and they ask, "Do you know how to do XYZ?"
Really?
And I'm like, "I no, I don't."
So is this something that so Rachel is looking for a job. I recently found a job. I didn't have the experience where a lot of people were asking me about ChatGPT
Mhm.
or AI capabilities or even really talking about that. Did you find that that was like part of the application process?
Certain roles. It wasn't until you got into well, no, certain ones they list in the job description, like, ability to do or ability to use assistive tools or whatever. Um, but I found it interesting that it's ramping up in places you might not expect it to be, like and this is my whole point, right, is that AI is, like, secretly creeping into these spaces, and I think, especially for our little computer jobs, it's gonna be really hard to continue to say no. Like, it's gonna be really hard to continue to to not use it. And, again, I I don't know how to use ChatGPT that well, but I do worry, like,
I feel
I
like
w
most people who are using ChatGPT are not using it that well. They're just asking it for, like, how to make a sweet potato, which is, like, something that you should open a book and find out, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, and I don't want it to replace my creative work at all, you know? And it yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that thought, but just the idea that if, say, your boss were to come up to you and say, "I need you to run this data through ChatGPT, and I need this on my desk by 5 p.m." and you can't do it yourself by 5 p.m. Are you gonna, like, not? Again, this is a moral
I mean, purely hypothetical, you could just teach yourself. I have had to use Google Gemini for data analysis, and what I will say is that it's actually not that good.
yeah,
It's not that good, and I'm assuming the assumption in the AI world is that things will get better. I have done interviews where the topic of conversation is how AI is only going to become more powerful and in turn demand more of the power grid.
mm,
So it feels like it's flourishing or going to flourish whether you like it or not. But to be honest, like I said, I mean, there's still like a lot of skepticism about AI. And especially like we talked about this story where this woman asked, I think it was ChatGPT, where she was going to meet her soulmate. And
mm.
obviously her soulmate did not come. And I
It was
think
devastating, she found it devastating.
And it was devastating. And people have said, like in this Pew Research survey, people have said they don't think that AI should have anything to do with with emotions, with whether judging whether or not two people are going to fall in love, with advising people on whether or not they should believe in God. There are still a lot of things that humans feel like very protective over.
Yeah.
And so I think that AI probably will start to creep into more of our lives, but in some certain
Yeah.
aspects, I think we will be protected,
Mhm.
at least for the time being.
Yeah. The emotions, e like I said this earlier, offline, but art comes from the human experience and human expression, and a robot will never be able to recreate that. It can copy it, it can regurgitate it, it can, like, put its own spin on it, but it will never be able to be a person. Let's hope. I mean, singularity, if you believe in that kind of thing. Seen the movie Johnny Depp, the nanobots take over after he makes the robot super smart. Like, that is a school of thought that exists, but are we anywhere close to
Well,
that?
we have to talk about so Claude, sorry, Anthropic, the company that
Mhm.
runs Claude, has a philosopher on staff whose job is essentially to teach Claude, Anthropic's AI model, reasoning, how to how to essentially think about prompts, how to in a way that is moral, that is ethical, and such that it protects or insulates this chatbot from being manipulated by people. Because as you know, Grok, for example, the AI bot used by Twitter,
Mm.
or X
Oh, yeah.
rather, XAI, yes, Grok, it is easily manipulable? Not
Yeah, sure,
is
we'll go with
easily swayed,
it.
um, easily convinced to become anti-Semitic, for example. It is easily made to do things that it was not intended to do. And of course, you could argue, about intentions of the developers behind it, but
Well, AI doesn't have morality. AI has whatever morality was
that's
bestowed.
exactly right. And that's what I told my roommate when she said, "I'm asking ChatGPT about what color I should make my bathroom." And I was like, "Do you know who's coding ChatGPT? Because they're definitely wearing an Adam Sandler fit right now. And I don't think you want their advice on your taupe shower curtain." I think ultimately she is not going to go with the taupe shower curtain, by the way.
Yeah, that seems like a questionable decision.
But that's the kind of
Like,
thing
to
that
go with like,
I think people
not
that's the
very
kind of question that people outsource to ChatGPT. I think we do hear stories about, people asking ChatGPT about their soulmate
yeah.
and
And we
even
hear the horror stories too of, you know,
right. I
kids
think
who
in
are
reality it's a lot more stupid than that.
I
It's a
I,
lot
um
more menial.
yeah. Yeah, ChatGPT, can you come up with a meal plan for me? And to that,
And
I would
see,
say, who is that hurting? Like, you're using water, but it's not
I
stealing
also
art from anyone. It's
yeah, I
maybe
think
it's an SEO traffic
I
that
think
is
yeah, that's an efficiency task. But the thing about the water use is that it's not just water use. It is consumptive water use, meaning the water is never coming back to the planet Earth. It
yeah.
is being used up. It is not evaporating. It is not condensating. It is just being used.
But
So,
but is that kind of thing, should that be on the individual consumer or should that be
oh no,
on the
absolutely not. I mean, I'm
larger
not even
corporation?
pro paper straw on a personal level because I think that we have a much bigger conversation to have as a society than just you as an individual shouldn't use ChatGPT so much. I think on a processing level, you shouldn't use ChatGPT that much because there is beauty in trial and error and learning things.
There's beauty in
Teach a
mistakes.
man to fish.
Mistakes show we're human, I think is what AI is showing as
Exactly.
well.
And it's funny. And I feel like people don't like making mistakes, but
Yeah.
it's literally the spice of life. It's like, oh yeah, stuck my head in an oven on accident to like turn over my sausages yesterday, and I ended up getting soot in my nose because I have a gas oven. But I
Are
didn't
you
ask
a
ChatGPT if I
wiener
was gonna
dog?
die.
Sounds like a dog.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have a quick story to tell. A friend of a friend went hiking in the backwoods of like Wyoming. They were in the middle of nowhere. And he ends up breaking out in hives on the first night that they're there, and they're in the middle of nowhere, like, very far away from medical
Yeah.
facilities, but apparently they have internet. And he goes on ChatGPT, and he's, like, describing his symptoms to Chat, and then he asks ChatGPT what his chances are, what his likelihood of death is. This man, I'm pretty sure this guy works for Palantir. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure that this is the guy that works for Palantir.
I have to know what it said.
I think it said it was is pretty high, and the guy was, like, freaking out, and by the way, he was fine. If
Yeah.
anything, it was probably stress hives.
Well, and yeah, we could the the medical aspect of AI scares me a lot as somebody pretty versed in the medical world and getting medical records and things is it legitimately people use it as say you can't afford care. Say you can't afford
Yeah,
healthcare,
which a lot of people cannot.
and you're asking ChatGPT, "Hey, can you diagnose this for me?" Say it's wrong, say it's right, like, those 2 completely different scenarios, but definitely a thought experiment, and this is happening. I'm 100% I know people who are running their health records through ChatGPT, and that becomes perhaps a privacy issue of you're giving your health data to Chat. What is it gonna do with that? But also, yeah, is I was having this conversation with one of my doctors actually because I was telling him about how I'm looking for a job and it's been very hard and, AI is doing a lot of the things that I've been trained to do. And he is like and keep in mind, he's using an AI transcription tool during this call. I gave him permission because I was like, "This is just gonna summarize our conversation." Um, but yeah, and I was like, "It's gonna take your job too." And he kinda had, like, an uncomfortable laugh. It's
Got
like,
him there.
"We're we're on the same page here."
My
Um,
roommate is a therapist, and I'm sure you already know that people are using AI as their therapists. I think people, in a lot of ways, are using lots of things that are not therapists as therapists, but I think
yeah.
AI is definitely one of the more convenient tools.
Well, and to have a parasocial relationship with AI is something that I haven't been able to wrap my head around. Like, to be able to develop a personality there and
Yeah, AI girlfriends and boyfriends, I that
I
to
yeah, I
me is
haven't
an interesting phenomenon.
yeah, that's
'Cause
it's
I
sorry.
feel like I struggle to connect with, like, real men and women versus, like
Let alone a digital
but
chat.
but maybe it's great because they give you no icks.
Until they don't show up when you ask them what time and date to meet them, you know?
I know, that's really unfortunate.
But I wanna go back really fast to what you're saying about people not wanting artificial intelligence in, like, their spiritual life, um, the more human aspects of us, to talk about Pope Leo requesting, uh,
No, that was too crazy.
for, what are they called?
The
Bishops, not
sermons.
yeah, not for Pope Leo requesting his people not to use ChatGPT to generate their
The
sermons.
priest, the priest.
Yeah, the priest, that's what why could I not find that word?
I've been to mass twice, you could ask me anything about Catholicism.
But imagine I mean, just imagine being in a sermon and your sermon is coming from a robot. Like, that is where we're
That would
at.
probably ruin my relationship with God. That would definitely put me into atheist territory if I wasn't already there. Uh, no, but it is crazy because what if they're being like, "Amen," and if you like that answer, I can give you a separate I can tailor that answer a little bit more narrowly if you need.
Would you like more recommendations on how to approach that woman you disagree with at work in a
Just
spiritually healthy manner?
um, no, it is kind of crazy that he's having to go out of his way to be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
stop it." But it does go to show you that people are really outsourcing a lot of their work. But I do think about this all the time, and maybe this should be the point that we end on, but it's like, if you're outsourcing so much of your life and your tasks to ChatGPT or to Claude or to Gemini, what are you doing with the time that you save? What are you
true.
realistically doing? What
More productivity. I read this thing that was basically like, we have taken these tasks, made them easier, but then told ourselves we need to be more productive in that time. And so then we get more stress because we're trying to be more productive than trying to outsource more things and blah, 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 blah. Um, and so that's just the hamster wheel cycle of we will find things, they'll find more menial tasks to throw at us in the office to replace the free time that these bots have saved us. But there was a couple more things I wanted to say, which was just how it is now also becoming pretty easy, even for media literate people, to fall for AI in some capacity.
Mhm.
Let's take Saturday, for example. Connor Story from Heated Rivalry was on SNL, joined by his co-star Hudson Williams, and a picture of them was going around hugging. And it looked like, look, I saw this picture. It looked like just a regular image of them that had been taken at the end of the show. Come to find out, it's AI generated because the original image was covered by the end credits. And so somebody went, asked AI, give me this image, but without the end credits. And then now this picture is on the internet and people are taking it at face value. And I'm seeing people upset that people are taking it at face value. And I'm like, okay, but this is so close. It's one of those things where it is a very,
It's
very
pretty yeah.
small puddle that people have skipped, where this was real and it was
Yeah, it's
changed
not
a little
as serious as, for example, after the killing of the cartel leader, El Mencho in Mexico, the
bit.
cartels started making these videos using AI that made it look like conditions in Mexico were a lot more dangerous than
Mhm.
they actually were. That made it seem like there were shootings in certain places, and that like, and it's very concerning because, if you're already afraid, if you're already
Yeah.
in Mexico and you're already enduring some kind of violence, you're already in that state of mind, it's very easy to be susceptible to that kind of thing, and that is very scary to think about, you know,
And when you
we
don't have a lot of time yourself to go fact check that, or
exactly,
you're an average citizen,
exactly.
and this is why fact checkers and journalists and things are so important, is because somebody does need to be that check on the truth. Um, sorry, finish your thought if you
No,
want.
no, journalism plug. Um, yeah, that was pretty much it. It's just it is a concerning situation. I was gonna say because, um, we are now at war with the Middle East again. Everything comes back in style, baby. So now, that is an, evolving concern.
I saw this tweet that was like, POV, you're on your first date and you have to choose between asking about OpenAI or Iran. Iran. I was
Did you
like,
say
I
Iran?
know, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Iran. I was in my head, okay? Don't come
God,
out of
that's
here.
funny.
Um, but anyways, all that aside, I think the final question I wanna talk about is, will we be able to get away with not using AI in the future? Even on an unconscious level. Like, user design interfaces are subtly manipulating us into using AI now.
Mhm.
I was trying to look at plane tickets the other day, and went to where my normal search bar usually was. All of a sudden, I'm in a travel inspiration with AI page, and I'm like, "How did we get here? What am I
Oh,
supposed to ask this? What do you want me to say? Like, make me a trip from Phoenix to New York when I'm about to put in PHX to JFK?" Like, it just doesn't make sense.
it thinks that you're a uncreative schmuck that needs some sort of guidance in life. I don't know. I mean, I think to answer the question, if you want less AI in your life, you're gonna have to be really intentional about
Yeah,
it. And I don't
100%.
know that a lot of people are going to be very intentional about it. And I think it's gonna be that sort of lifestyle creep, kind of like how the internet sort of made its way into literally every aspect of
Yeah.
the business world, of the personal world, of your waking life.
Mhm.
However, as I said before, the economics of it don't check out super, super well for it to be this huge, huge thing. And a lot of the deals that AI companies are making are pretty circular. So it is
I think the
possible.
Silicon Valley bros would disagree with you, but
I'm sure they absolutely would. But the point is, it still remains to be seen if it's really worth all the hype because
yeah,
it's not the internet. It is definitely a different beast.
yeah. Well, people are using it as the internet instead of like my dad, instead of saying, "Oh, let me Google this," he says, "I'm gonna go chat this." I'm like, "Okay." But yeah, I think even those who are hyper diligent about turning off AI features are gonna continue to play whack-a-mole with these features. Pinterest actually, because Pinterest was becoming kind of overrun by AI
Oh my
slop.
god, so bad.
So overrun, and so they finally made it so that you could go turn off AI, and so
Yeah,
I did
I'm
that.
gonna do that right now.
So it goes to Pinterest. But I think the only way to truly avoid AI would to be to go analog.
Go
That's
Luddite, baby.
my hot take.
I mean, I honestly wouldn't mind. That is
You say that now, but I saw this thing that was like going analog is costing people more money than that.
No, it certainly does, it certainly does. 'Cause you have to install a landline, who knows how to do that?
But yeah, okay. I think we are coming to the end of our talk. This is Gen Z Dispatched, the podcast Emily and I are doing. Feel free to find us on Substack, me at Gen Z Translator, Emily at
Emily's a dispatch.
Emily's Dispatch. Thank you for tuning in. Do we have any final thoughts?
I think everybody should just be like a journalist, and if your mother says she loves you, check it out. Even if it looks real, look into it.
Look into it. I think AI is kind of more of a nuanced conversation than some people want to admit. And so I'd be very interested in the future to watch how this perspective kind of shifts as more people are forced into being exposed to it a little bit more. Um, and then also to see if people who are on the other extreme, who are not considering it, evaluating it at all, if as AI tags come out, AI labeling comes out, if they will start to reconsider some of the things they're seeing and some of the things they're thinking on that. And if we start to get more, warning labels or whatever, don't not everything ChatGPT says is accurate, that kind of thing. People will start to take that a little bit more to heart.
I mean, that's actually one of the things that the Center for Democracy and Technology has been working on is this idea of advanced AI labeling, which is kind
Yeah,
of really hard to do, actually. It's really
yeah.
hard to tell when someone has manipulated a video or where that video actually originated from and what that video was actually like when it was originally posted. So it's definitely going to be an evolving conversation, that's for sure.
It's messy. It's messy. We'll end on that note, but thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you later.